You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to an episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, huge shout out to our sponsors. The Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is the Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma. And it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. So a huge shout out to Governor Anatoby for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my two pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my two golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. Adding to that is the Doghouse, and so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too, but I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC, and hopefully our pups will run into each other. What's up, guys? Welcome back to an episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode. This is the first episode for me of 2026, so super excited to dive in with a great mate, who's a guy who's become a great mate. Yeah. We share a lot of cool stories from back home because you visited and you get the context. I'm excited to dive into that stuff because you recently got back. Also, both in real estate, so we have that bug, but we also do a lot of podcasting. So, great pleasure to finally introduce the podcast, Mr. Zack Davis.
Hi, thank you for having me, man. It's a blessing. I really appreciate it. You mean a lot. So
I appreciate that. So the Keep Going podcast is your podcast.
Yes, sir.
What are we currently at as far as episodes right now?
So I just recorded episode 119 last week.
Okay.
And it's been a journey. It's been a year and a half, and we're at 119. So I've been pushing them out as good as I can.
Do you have a with me, I mean, mine are like every Tuesday, Friday. Do you have a strict schedule, or are you just putting them out?
So I kind of like Monday, Thursday.
Okay.
But I feel like sometimes I alternate also, where it's Monday, a bunch of Mondays in a row, and then sometimes a Monday, Thursday.
Yeah.
But Monday and Thursday has been good for me. But the Tuesday, Friday makes sense too, because I'm sure a lot come on Monday.
And for me, it's more of just giving myself extra time through that weekend. I like to stay ahead, right? I like to schedule, 2 to 3 weeks ahead. But there comes a time, and doing it for 7 years, there's always one where you're like, Monday's been busy, or you've had a busy weekend, and so it kind of gives you that extra day. But I've toyed with the idea now of, because, and I've always pushed to do them in person, because the quality is so much better in person for the recording equipment, but also in-person conversations is much better, right? Like the conversations always flowed better in person than over Zoom. But recently, like the Riverside and everything online has got better, and most people's microphones and cameras are now better. I'm toying with the idea of doing 3 a week, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
I think with the
Tuesday till Monday, Thursday, Saturday.
That would work, because with the Riverside, I mean, it can really expand, because it's so easy and fluid, and I mean, then you can get guests from all over.
That's the thing. I'm a idea nerd, right? I have a notepad at home, and it's every page has got a different idea in it. And depending on what mood I'm in, it's either a podcast or a golf or real estate idea or whatever it is. One of them is like a series I had an idea of, is Oklahomans around the world. And that's coming from that. Like, all these famous people who are from Oklahoma that don't live here anymore.
Yeah.
I would love to fly to LA, right, and interview some, famous actress or actor or whatever, but the reality is it's not going to happen. So you're going to get them on Zoom for 15 minutes, maybe. But that's what I've been kind of manifesting a little bit.
I like it because I've had probably 5, maybe even 10 people say like, "Hey man, let's do a podcast." And I was like, I'm just not at virtual yet. Yeah. And not that I'm opposed of it.
It took me a long time.
I'm going to just keep doing physical when I'm in your area, maybe. That's why when I was in Texas last year, around April, I knocked out 4 of them in Texas with some real estate people I knew. So I know eventually I'll have to go that route
Yeah.
too, but for
That's
now,
the beauty of yours being like mine's obviously tied to Oklahoma. Yours is just keep going in general, and so you
yeah,
can travel. And you did one at a coffee shop in Manchester, right? Like with the equipment that we have, and shout out to DJI because it's
yeah,
amazing. It's a small travel setup if you need to, but the quality's great. Um, but I know we could talk podcast forever, and I'm sure we will continue to talk podcasting in this episode. But for people listening who don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself and your upbringing and your story of what gets you to where we are today.
yes, sir. So, I was born in Lawton. I grew up though in Moore, Oklahoma,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I did all my schooling from first grade all the way to I graduated. I grew up playing basketball, so that was the sport that I niched in.
Mm-hmm.
When I look back, I always wish I tried more stuff because now all I do is try stuff.
Right.
They're like, "Oh, you're rock climbing. Oh, you're hunting. Oh, you're doing this." But back in the day, I was just like very focused on one thing. But I did that growing up, and then went to college for basketball. I played at a Christian college in Moore, Oklahoma,
Okay.
and after that, I was pretty lost on what my goals were. Like I knew I didn't want to like fail, obviously, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to get a real job. I was still a manager at a shoe store. A friend of mine, Tez Arbertha, that's a real estate mentor here in Oklahoma and other states. He walked by me and was like, "Hey, I'm selling insurance. You should try this because I just made $1,000." And like, that's how broke we were. And it's like, no, I made that in a month. I
Yeah.
think we're doing better.
Right.
But he said, try it. So I went. And right when I was about to get the job, he said, "Hey, I'm actually going to go to Roush Coleman and do new home sales. You should do that."
Mm-hmm.
So I followed him there, went there. It didn't go as planned. I was like 2 months in getting contracts. I skipped a training session. They fired me.
Really? For
Yeah.
skipping a training session? Yeah.
So at Roush, they had it to where you had to go to Arkansas and do some corporate training. I was immature at the time and I was like, I'm already getting deals. I don't want to go do that. I just want to hustle.
Yeah.
So after convincing my family and everybody that I wanted to do real estate, this is what I wanted to do. Trust me, believe me.
Yeah.
I get fired in 2 months or 3 months. And they're like, man, they were heartbroken for me because
Yeah.
I remember leaving where I got fired and my sister was working at Penn Square Mall across the street. I drove over there and was like, come outside. She came outside. I'm just bawling. Give her a hug. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but like, I just failed at this, but I got to keep going. Like, what am I going to do? So that was actually my first stint of, when I look back, experiencing some form of depression where that month I didn't know what I was going to do. Then my friend Tez reached out and was like, "Hey, you were good at it. Just try somewhere else."
Yeah.
So I really got my foot in the door real estate wise at Home Creations.
Mhm.
So I was with them for a year and a half
Yeah.
and got one of their more popular neighborhoods, started getting my own style, getting deals done. It really could have just stayed there.
Mm-hmm.
I hit the blueprint and was rolling.
And they build a lot of homes.
Yeah,
Right.
and they're a production builder, so sometimes you could have 50, 60 homes going in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then it's funny how this happens, but then one day I show up to work and Tez and the person I'm partnered with now, Kevin, local guys, they were like, "Hey, we're going to start this other thing called Local Guy Buys Houses. We're going to start wholesaling real estate, flipping, this type of stuff."
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "You should try it." So there was all these moments where they came back around like, "Hey, you should try this."
Yeah.
So literally I bought a house in July of 2019 and then and got my real estate license. A couple weeks after that, I quit my job. So I went up to Home Creations, sat in their office, and they tried to hit me with that corporate stuff where they show you a list of your closings and like, look at all this money you're leaving, and don't you want to be in your model home for 80 hours a week? And they were such good people, but I needed a change.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of embarked into what I do now. So being a realtor, I was wholesaling quite a bit over the past 4 or 5 years, but stepped away from that. And it's been interesting transitioning more of the flipping and holding myself.
Yeah.
So it's been a transition in my
Yeah.
business, but that's kind of a crash course of how I got to where I am today. But today, I focus on real estate. I focus on podcasting, my family, relationships like you, and just enjoying the journey.
Yeah. Was that the first time that, you kind of got fired from Roush Coleman? Leading into that, would you say you kind of lacked a little direction? Was that the first time? Because clearly it meant something to you to lose the job and get fired. Did it mean so much to you because you felt like you'd finally found what you wanted to do with your life?
I don't think at that point I had the thought of, I think this is what I want to do with my life, because I was still just so immature.
Okay.
I just think I felt like I never like to feel like a failure.
Yeah.
I am 100% humble to take those lessons and learn and things, but you know, my family wasn't all supportive because they didn't do that type of work. So my sister was, I had friends that did, but I went to the Thunder game last night with my best friend. And when we were walking to the Thunder Arena, he was like, "Man, it's crazy that you do this still, because I remember when you first started at Roush and we were in my garage, or in his parents' garage, this is how many years back, and I was panicking. It was him and my friend James and my friend Sydney, and I'm literally in the garage like, I don't know if I can do this. They want me to do this. They want me to sell houses. I've got to learn sales tactics. I don't think I'm equipped." And they're just like, "If anyone can do it, you can do it." So that's why I think it hit so hard when they fired, because one, the person that fired me was Kevin, who owns Local Guys,
Yeah.
and he didn't want to do it. So that's the first time I like saw him sad, and I just never wanted to be a failure. I grew up always having enough, but just sometimes being more on the poverty side, and I didn't want to go back to that.
Sure.
So my heart was kind of broken, but then when I really got my foot in the door at Home Creations, it started to stick, and then doing it on my own has been a game changer.
Yeah.
Because moments like this and just more experience.
Yeah. So real estate obviously is a huge part of your world. Tell me a little bit about your native culture and your upbringing, and kind of how that, integrates into real estate and flipping houses, and just because it's a huge part of your life, and you're very aware of it, but you're also, it's something that if people follow you on Instagram, and I'll put your Instagram down below, you're proud of it, and everybody should be proud of their heritage, right? Like, I'm super proud to be from Wales, but I think you do it in a way that's really, it's a storytelling way, which might be the pod. There's the pod. That's where the podcaster is in you, right? That comes out. But tell me a little bit about your kind of heritage, and then coming from a little nuts and more, as far as your tribal background.
Yeah, for sure. And I appreciate that, because I've always been proud, but I don't think I always leaned into it as much, just because I grew up in more with different demographics.
Sure.
I remember one kid with a ponytail at Norman High. I mean, not a ponytail, but like a long braid.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't something I grew up in, as far as around my friends. I didn't grow up in a native school. So it's been something that my wife helped me, and my maturity helped me lean more into since you've known me. So when you see it, it's not new, but the attention to detail on it is. And when I grew up, I didn't notice like the little moments where my grandpa was so like pushing it into my life. So I'm Comanche and Caddo, and Caddos are around Binger, Comanche is around Lawton. And my grandfather in my 5th grade class for show and tell actually showed up, dressed me out in regalia,
Yeah.
and had me stand in front of the class while he said some stuff and then played the flute. And at the time, I was not embarrassed. Like, I thought what he was doing was stupid. I was just like, all the attention's on me.
It's exposure, right?
And it seemed a little heavy. But looking back, I'm like, man, like, what a blessing. Like, he didn't have to come to my school. And I haven't thought of that story in a while, so I'm glad you asked, because he didn't have to come to my school when he's a Bureau of Narcotics investigator, busy man, attorney general, all these things, to just push our culture forward.
Yeah.
But I grew up around some powwows, which are our ceremonial gatherings. So I would see like the drum songs and the dancing. I remember sage and cedar being burnt in the house by my grandfather. Um, and just, it's so funny. Like right now, I'm making my first pair of moccasins.
Oh,
So
wow.
traditional moccasins. And so I'm learning to bead. And when I was learning, my cousin that's showing me was like, "Man, your grandpa would be proud." And I remember one time in a house in Midwest City that basically when my parents divorced when I was about 4 or 5, I would go to my grandpa's house 6 out of 7 days. I would just stay there. One time we sat in his living room and made arrows, and I've got one of those arrows in my office that you came to.
Yeah.
And it's like, I didn't know that all those things were as important as they were when I was growing up, but it's been nice at this chapter of my life, and getting to see, like I said, powwows or ceremonies, or not even to get too heavy on you, but even what I just did, an hour ago, I was burying Harvey Pratt, who's my uncle.
Yeah.
hand burying them with the other family members. And the first time I did that was when my grandfather's mom died when I was probably 9 years old or 8 years old. And I remember seeing that for the first time. That was the first time I got blessed with sage smoke. It's the first time I saw the meal. So in our culture, every tribe could be different, but in ours, it was like there was a meal, and then every 4 years after there was a meal, and there was all these specific details that had to happen. And looking back, I was just kind of going through the motions. But when I see it, it's something I'm very proud of. And now Jake Keys
Yeah.
with Skydance. So, and what's funny is my grandma that passed on my grandpa's mom, her last name is Keys. So it's just wild how it connects.
Yeah.
But when I interviewed him, he brought up what you're doing is important, pushing Native stories. And I never thought about that. So since our interview, I've been able to have other natives on. I've got some coming on in the future. And I was blessed to have Harvey on last year. And it's been something that I wish I would have started sooner, but I'm not beating myself up because I'm all the way in now.
Yeah.
And when you say things like you said earlier, as far as like storytelling and you and me being proud of it, it means a lot. And even today, when we were at the ceremony, when they were lowering the casket, they're singing, and like I didn't cry the whole time. I I am a crier. Like I'm a pretty
Yeah, I
good
am
crier.
too.
I'm a good crier.
I am too.
My wife's always like, dry it up. But I just felt together, right? Then they start chanting. And man, I'm just sitting there crying because even though I didn't grow up being in a native community or on a reservation or any of those things, it's crazy when I hear those ancestral songs, how it just lightens me up. And I'm sitting there watching them burying them, and I'm watching a guy in a wheelchair missing one leg singing his heart out with passion, and then another guy's about to cry. So instead of crying, he just lets out some good screams that go with the music. And it's like, this is special.
That's, yeah. I mean, what an experience. Right?
Yeah.
And to be a part of that. And your uncle obviously is, in the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. Like he's a legend in his own right. And
For multiple
for
reasons,
multiple
too.
reasons,
Just
right?
crazy.
Artists, the OSBI stuff, and, Vietnam vet, is that right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But you're right, like being around that, and now being at the age and understanding those experiences with with your granddad, because you probably just thought, oh, I'm just going to my grandparents, just
I'm just making arrows.
yeah,
Or
it's I'm just
we do this.
Yeah, we just draw cars on a pad, or we make arrows, like whatever it is as a kid to your grandparents would do to keep you occupied, but it was very intentional, which is cool to look back on now because we understand why.
Yeah, in the corner, sometimes there'd be a little cast iron skillet, like a really tiny miniature one that they use for smudging. And there'd just be a little bit of sage burning. And I remember smelling it as a kid when we'd be sitting in the living room, just these two old folks and me. And I would smell that, the fireplace would be going, and I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. But I still remember sitting there with him, dipping my hand in the water, grabbing the sinew, wrapping it around the arrow, putting the water to moisten it so it'll harden, and making knives and making sheaths. And he taught me how to cook outside, and just all these things that were really important to me. Like him saying, when I grew up, our house was 400 square feet, and there was 5 of us, so we cooked all outside. So now my favorite thing to do is cook outside. I remember when he took me to a lake, and we literally sat under a tree, and he was in his overalls, and we cooked for like 2 hours. And it's just these little moments that obviously were precious at the time, but even today, that's why I still wanted to do the podcast today, even though Harvey's funeral was today, because I knew my energy would be calm. And seeing that, I was just like, man, what a beautiful thing to be a part of. Doesn't matter how little or how much native you are or whatever it is, but just the love and the care and the culture, it's moving.
Yeah, from my side, like what I see, whether it's yourself or other, friends who've been on the podcast that are from native backgrounds and still practice the things you're talking about, the sage cooking outside. In the modern world now, when everyone's tied to their phone, right? Whether it's deals with real estate or it's, emails, like that stuff keeps you grounded. It keeps you connected with who we were, who we are, the heritage, obviously the heritage with the, your native history, but also just people in general. If people in general took those things, right, and just kind of, you don't have to be a native. You don't have to be. It doesn't have to be about religion. It just go and be in the woods for a couple hours and have some peace and turn your phone off and have go through whatever these breathing exercises, gratitude, like whatever it is that you need to do is going to do so many people so good. And that's the thing that from the outside I see is like, even though you don't have to be of native culture to do these things to get benefit out of it.
Right, right.
And when we did our podcast, we were burning sage from the podcast, right? And just these little things that for me, just like, guys, it keeps you grounded. It's keeps you centered. It reminds you what is real in the world, senses of smell, taste, all these things,
And it makes you
gets
slow down a little bit.
exactly, and it gets you away from this,
Yeah.
right? And all of the crazy world, that the now attitude of we got to do things now, and just sit down for 5.
So that's why when I was blessing you, you're like, do I need to do anything? I'm like, whatever you feel.
Yeah,
If you need a moment of rest, like take it as rest. If you need a moment of maybe thinking of some hard things you're trying to overcome, think of that. Or just give gratitude or whatever it is. Like, I, it seems normal to me, but it's not.
Yeah.
And I was at, this is, and I'm tangent for just a second. When I'm going to have a photographer on that I think I think his name's Brian Pearson.
yeah,
And
it was great.
yeah, he photos bison.
Yeah,
I went and looked at, the house I'm telling you about in Midwest City with the arrows.
Mhm.
I door knocked it. The guy was there, or the guy wasn't there. I left a handwritten note. He called me back. I looked at it to maybe buy it. Numbers didn't work. But so last week I was in that house that I grew up in. I walked out the door, checked my phone, got the message, Harvey's passed. I'm like, connection. Then Brian's like, hey, yeah, we can do a podcast. We'll connect in the future. Then he calls me Saturday and was like, hey, it's short notice, but in 3 hours, I'm going to the Cheyenne Arapaho tribe, buffalo herd to take pictures. Harvey is a chief of the Cheyenne Arapaho. I'm like, I got to go. So then I go out there. We do this big blessing, buffalo everywhere. When we start the blessing, the buffalo actually scoot away and then come back when we're done, which is crazy. But when we finished, we were leaving the refuge or whatever it's called. And the guy we were with, his name was Tommy Beartrack. He said, you're like a young elder. And he just kept going. He just said it in conversation and kept rolling. And it hit me because my elders are kind of gone. Not the ones that aren't. There's still plenty in the tribe of elders that I could go to for guidance. But as far as like the ones I grew up with, my papa, my Uncle Harvey, my Uncle Tommy, my Uncle Jerry, they're gone. And I was like, maybe it's like a little baton passing that I didn't know. So it's been an interesting experience for me.
Brian's done some really cool photos out there, and I've shared a lot of his photography. Most of it's been out at the Cheyenne Arapaho land that they have out there, and he did some really cool night shoots with some dancers. And
Yep. Yeah, there was a fire and stuff. Yeah.
So I was there that night.
You were there?
Yeah, it was great.
How'd you feel?
I mean, it's hard to describe it. Like, you have this fire, you have a couple of professional dancers out there, in their full gear. I think it was 3 of them. Full gear, the fire's going, and there was a couple, before the light went, there were some, bison, buffalo kind of wandering around and drones flying. And another friend of mine who would be another great podcast for you, Dusty, who owns Cross Timbers Bison down in Davis.
Oh, yeah. I think I've seen it on Instagram.
Yeah, he's really good. He was there too. We're just like, and that's just like the bison stuff's normal to him because he has 180 acres and a bunch, that's his world. But we're just like, it was fun to be there and just to take it in, not to be there to capture video. I didn't have anything. I was like, this is just experience this moment. Yeah.
It takes your breath away. I know people say that a lot, but you really do get quiet and just observe. You really like talk about just shutting your mouth and just absorbing. Like it's interesting, to say the least. And that's why I don't beat myself up of maybe not dancing in powwows growing up. Like my time will come for certain things, and I mean, I did, when I did that blessing out there, Brian was like, I've never been blessed. I've never had this experience. Like, thank you. And then Tommy, the native that's way more blood native than I am, but he was like, that meant a lot. Thank you. And I'm like, it, it teaches me to not be nervous of being me. So when you say like, I see you telling your stories and being proud, it's because when I have taken that chance, it's been well received. And I'm blessing this native that grew up probably way more native than me as far as in his ecosystem. So it's been an interesting transition, but I'm blessed and I really enjoy it.
The following, what you just said there, as far as, being true to yourself and being open with it and outward about it, it's hard to do, right? Because you are fully putting yourself out there and telling your story, and it's really authentic, which everyone, I'm sure, tries to be authentic or thinks that they're authentic, but very few people are. And there's very few people that will share and talk about the things that they truly feel and believe without fear of something happening, right? I mean, we're real estate agents, like we're very public people. We do one thing wrong and like everyone's going to hear about it, right? And we have a content strategy for the most part. We've got to post, there's a million real estate agents. We've got to talk about it to keep our group and our clients and all the things. So, it doubling down on, maybe it isn't even doubling down, but just being true to yourself and sharing your story. I'm glad to hear that it's been received well, because it should be received well. The people that aren't going to receive it well aren't people you want to be around anyway.
100%.
Right?
And I honestly, the podcasting helped the most,
Really?
I think, with me being open, because as far as one-on-one, I would have done this with you at any point in my life. I would have been vulnerable with you. But it was like episode 2 or 3 of my own podcast where I was like, damn, I've shared quite a bit. But I'm just gonna lean into it because I don't care, and I am proud of everything I am, and I like to just be a real human being. And I mean, random. I was grouped together with this public speaking group that a realtor is putting together, Anthony Brown, and he messaged me and was like, "You're always bringing the ripe energy," and then someone else was like, "You're always being yourself," and I was like, "I'm just genuinely trying to be a good person, nice to people around me, and just enjoy this, because I lost people when I was young, but I don't know what it is about being in my 30s and losing my close relatives that I'm like, I'm seeing the movement up the ladder, and I just know it's not promised and it could be tomorrow. So I just try to lean into that so much.
It's important. It has to be done. And like I said, you're 19 episodes in now of the podcast. Like,
Which doesn't seem real
it also probably doesn't seem like a lot to you either.
until I look back.
Until
I start scrolling. And I'm like,
oh, because you're like a year in, just over a year, you're like, oh, that's not that long. And then, like I said, you scroll and you're like, oh, you put those 119 or however many people you had individually in a room. That's how I justify it, or like contextualize it. It's like, if I had all these people in a room, that's a lot of people.
no, that's why when you said 6 or 7 years, I was like, man, like that's what it's going to be, because it's deeper than doing it for content. It's the connection. Like, obviously the reason you do the podcast, there's multiple reasons, but it's not just because of content.
Right.
That's like, that cannot be the
That's
reason,
the
or you
byproduct.
wouldn't do it.
Yeah, the content.
And it's helped me learn myself. It's helped me be in rooms with people I wouldn't be with.
Chica.
Yeah, it's helped me that. And like you said, with the native culture, I've been able to lean into that more, where there's a guy on Instagram that's like a fitness guy from McAllister, proud native. I message him, call me. He calls me. I'm going to have him on the pod next month. Awesome. And it's like, when Jake said that, I was like, man, it's just like when Tommy said, you're like a young elder. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna lean into that. So like with the natives, I'm like, no, you should be on the pod. I don't have anything to say. I'm like, you should. Like, do you know Dakota Wakini?
No.
He's the only Native American one. I think he's the only one, but maybe I'm wrong. The only Native American media guy in the NBA, and he's for the Thunder.
Wow.
And he is Lou Dort's main guy.
Brilliant.
And you'll see the native with the bun.
Okay.
But I had him on the pod, and I was like, man, I wouldn't have even met him.
Yeah.
And so it's been interesting. It's been like a quest, honestly.
And it'll continue too.
Yeah.
There'll be days, like
we're recording January. Obviously, people are setting goals and doing their things, and I like to write notes and have just way too many notepads in the house with lists and all these things on them. But I rewrote my like dream podcast guest list, right? Because I need, and it's on my fridge as a reminder, one, to continue to reach out to those people, and two, just to see it as far as like, oh yeah, I'm shooting for these people. But it was fun to cross off people. It's the most satisfying thing ever, right? Wow. And so people always ask, who's your biggest guest? Who's your favorite guest? All these questions. I'm sure you get asked as well. And, they
don't ask me biggest yet.
Well, it'll happen because it forces me to think about what was the best for me versus what someone else might think, because you have these people on and like, oh, well, what was this person like? All these things. It's usually not the ones people think, right? It's usually like the stories, the personal connections, like the people that you connect with that you never expected to. And there'll be podcasts that'll come up for you that, you'll do. And that's the beauty of it too, right? You get to sit down with someone and really kind of find out who they are and talk to them and really like have a conversation, because no one thinks about the 500,000, how many people are listening, 110, whatever it is.
But the experiences are,
right.
And like even with Lou Renova, getting to go shoot with him and then record a pod, or record a pod with you, but now we've had a relationship.
Yeah.
Or I go to that horse ranch in Texas and watch a 67-year-old horse trainer that's a ripped older lady named Kelly bust her ass for 3 or 4 days, and then she's on the pod. And then at the end, I bust out in tears, and I'm like, the most hysterically crying I've done in a while. And it was on the pod, and I was like, I'm leaving it. Like, if it hit me that hard, I'm leaving it. So like the experience has just been wild. Even Brian, like, okay, now I'm around these buffalo. Now I'm meeting someone in the tribe that knows who I am. That's going to connect me to other people in the tribe. And like for the podcast, it's cool because I know we get a story of them, and it's meaningful that way. Just the connection.
So much better. Like, and we both were at the Thunder game last night. I go to the game and I bumped into 2 people I haven't seen in 2 or 3 years. And again, we might text or see each other and, chat on Instagram, but seeing them in person, and I wouldn't have been connected to those people without the podcast. Like, they're not in my world unless they're podcast. You just like Chuck Swisher on the podcast too, right? Great dude.
Really cool dude. And he actually brought me,
some steaks.
Some steaks for my birthday. So we had a great conversation. And that's what I was going to say about the pod is like, you also don't know how much it means to that person. And that's what I've been learning along the way is people tell me, I've never had a platform to speak, or I've never actually told my story. Wow. And whether it's a, 20-year-old or Harvey was in his 70s.
Yeah.
It's like, I genuinely care, and it's interesting to unpack those conversations because it's just a big deal. It's really nice.
It is, and you're exactly right. We don't, because of what we do, we give people an opportunity to share their story that, like you said, don't have the opportunity to or have never been asked. And I think a lot of people don't think there's, like, I reached out to a guy earlier this week, and he's like, I don't think I'm interesting enough to be on the podcast.
That's my favorite.
I'm like, dude, you're coming on the show because, and he's a young guy, super successful, sold an old company and has another one. Like, he has a house and lives in the Bahamas kind of thing. Like, he's in his 30s, right? I'm like, dude, really? You're coming on the show.
That's
even if it's for 10 minutes, like, you're coming on the show.
Yeah, just talk about life. But most people say that. I don't think I'll be interesting enough. And it's like, man, you don't know what you've been through.
Yeah. And that the other side of it too is interviewing family and friends to document those stories.
Yeah.
Whether it's Harvey, whether it's grandparents, whether it's cousins, like, because whenever, like Harvey, you've been through a pretty heavy day today.
Yeah.
But you always have that interview with him.
Right.
Right. You always have the voice of him telling his story and the great stories.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's talking about his OSBI days, whether it's talking about, I think on the podcast I did, he talked about his uncle, like they met at an air base somewhere, I think, or something about military, and they just bumped into each other, and he went to lunch with his uncle, and everyone talked about it. I have to send it to you. It's a really cool clip.
The one he got me was he said, "Why do all the older natives carry knives?" And it was because all the older native women would carry knives for protection and like little tiny knives in their waist. And then something else that got me was he was like, my sisters would tell the elders, "Why do you treat the boys better?" And they're like, "Because they're gonna die for you." And like that's where their mind was.
Yeah.
Is like, yeah, but when it's the fan, they go die. And I'm like, and we're not that far apart.
No,
to
we're
see
not.
That. And he's
It's
like,
two
no, that's what, he said,
generations.
I don't want to die. He's like, I was 6 years old. Like, I don't want to go die. But that's the beauty of it is you don't know someone's story. And that it's been awesome. That's why I was so blessed when, like you're talking about reaching out to people, like this is another reason why what I'm doing is meant to be, is because I came into contact with you and we were able to connect. You came on my pod, which was so gracious of you. And I know it was normal for you because we have a relationship now, but you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to go be on someone's podcast episode 50 when he's brand new.
Yeah.
And like you did, and you let me pick your brain and you let me have fun, asking you about your favorite car and all these things. And that I don't know. It gives you some confidence, like you said, with your list, where you're like, no, I just ask, and if it works, it works,
so
and if
much-
not,
That's the thing that is like, I have, and I think I worry a lot as far as like, to the point where and I don't do this a lot, but I do catch myself thinking, oh, it's not even worth reaching out because they're never going to see my message, right? Or whatever it is. Everyone has an email address or a thing, like send it. And that's what's happened. Some of the guests that I've had on, I've just sent them an email and their manager's seen it and it's gone, like just send them a DM or an email and you'll be surprised how it's happened. And that's what's, like, I don't want to jinx it. And I'll tell you after we get off the podcast, I get hopefully a pretty big guest coming on the podcast next week. And I'm just like, it's one of the biggest ones I've ever done. And it's
you
like,
wearing a suit? No, I'm kidding.
I might.
kidding.
I have, like it'll be a big one.
The
Only a big
progression.
one because this guy's very hard to get to, not because he's sort of like everyone knows who he is, but it's not that he's not a celebrity. But he's just very hard to get to.
Well, that's the progression because they see the journey. Because I mean, something in you what told you to be like, okay, we met for coffee, and you're like, I'll do an episode with you.
Yeah, and it was awesome. And from my side, like I usually sit on this side, but now it's fun to have you as a guest, right? Because you don't, now we do the same thing. So
it's so much more relief.
It's so much
sit
more
over
relief,
here,
right? Like to be on the guest side, just tell stories and hang out.
The hangout is way better because
it's so much better.
I get the pressure because you've taught me a lot. Like I know we don't have to stay on that topic, but just so people know, like you've been there through countless text messages. You've helped me. You've connected me to people. Even after we did the pod, you connected me to like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 guests. When I met you at your America party, you introduced me to everybody. You told them what I was about, and like you're genuine too. So that's why it's been so nice.
Yeah, I appreciate that because there's a lot of times I think I struggle with imposter syndrome because I'm a Welsh guy who has a podcast about Oklahoma, right? And all the things.
The podcast about Oklahoma is crazy.
And so it is fun to, and I don't know what I've tried to like figure out what like who in my life has made me like be that person, right? As far as, you talk about your granddad and my granddad was super influential in my life as well. And
what was his name?
Ted. His real name's Evelyn. Evelyn Edward Jones. So
that's a cool name.
But everyone called him Ted. So my middle name's Edward,
nice.
after him. But yeah, he was, like didn't really, not much, didn't grow up with much, always made the most of what he had, worked really hard, one of 4 brothers, and went into the military, then was a military policeman, and then was a policeman, and then was our chief of police. And, he was retired my whole life, and passed away a couple of years ago. But like, he was always super kind and very like, but he was more, you've been back to the UK, so you understand this. He was more like proper, if you make he was a gentleman, right? He wasn't like, it's kind of hard to describe, but he was just a very like, just every time I walked in the house, when I walked the dogs, they live real close. I walked the dogs, or we would walk the dogs up to their house pretty much every day. I'd walk in and he'd give me a high five, and he'd always refer to me as Master Hearn. And I have letters where, like, as a kid, like he collected stamps. This is such an old person thing to do. They collected stamps, but the stamps were all addressed to me, and so they're all addressed to Master Michael Hearn when I was like 5.
That master is cool though.
It's
That's
cool,
super
right?
British.
It is super British, but he was like super like proper, and like drove at 10 and 2 the whole way. And as a kid, it irritated me because he drove so slow.
Love that master.
But it was
Hearn,
just
though.
like the whole, like, that was just his vibe. He was very peaceful. He listened to classical music on the way to the golf course every day. We played golf in the summer. He played every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And so I'd play golf as much as I could with him. But as a kid, like, he'd pick me up at 7:15 in the morning, and I'm like, this is way too early. Why do I want to go do this? And now I'm like, looking back, those are some of the greatest memories. But the what you're talking about is like being a good human being and being genuine and introducing you to everybody, all my friends, and all the things. Like, one, I do it because if we weren't friends, like, I probably wouldn't introduce you to all my friends, right? Like, I like what you do.
Right. You'd be like, this is Zack.
Yeah, right. I like what you're about, and that's kind of why we can, probably why we connected as well, because we're very similar in that way. But I haven't gone through the discovery myself to figure out, like, why I am the way I am, which I'm excited to do. And most people, say, oh, there's things I would say, like, you really grow in your 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And so being 35, I'll be 36 this year. Like, I'm kind of interested to dive into it because I think I got to a stage where I'm more aware of it now. And like you were talking about your granddad, like, we can look back and understand those moments.
I think
more.
it's just for males, and maybe it takes longer because, like, now I feel like I'm learning
Yeah.
things, and I definitely agree. Like, you learn about, like, just what's important to you, and then, like, what's not, and you lean into what is, and it is a lot of identity. Maybe our our elders, your granddad, my grandpa, like, maybe that's when they discovered themselves. Because when my grandpa met my grandma, so in Hawaiian you say tutu for grandma.
Okay.
So my tutu, she moved from Hawaii when she was like 20 and went to California, started a life. He just met her randomly in his 30s,
Yeah.
and that's all I know is them. But then when I put it into perspective, I'm like, no, it's like you right now meeting someone and then creating a legacy with them is like, this is an important time for us. That's why we're leaning into it.
Yeah. And it's fun to be in this time, right? And, whether it's, being in real estate for so long, or being in a career that you're kind of happy in, or set that that this would be something you do for the remainder of your life, and the podcast we're both going to do till we can't speak anymore, kind of thing. Like, it's always going to be there. But one thing you said earlier that we haven't touched on yet is that you're excited to keep learning things. You mentioned making your own first set of moccasins.
Yeah.
I know you set something last year to go ride horses and learn that. And so I'd love to know, like, where the Keep Going moniker comes from for the podcast and why you started, and then 2, why it is you feel like it's so important for you to dive into new experiences.
So I'll start with the keep going mantra. When I started getting my foot in the door in real estate, my friend Tez and I would call each other because he helped me a lot in my journey, like, just astronomically. And I'd call him and be like, well, this client did this, this, and this. And he's like, all right, try this. And I'm like, all right. And he'd be like, all right, keep going. And I'd be like, all right, keep going. And just hang up the phone. And that's what it started as, was literally just me and him saying it to each other or texting each other. I mean, I have it tattooed on my body. So it's like, it was just something that, like, ingrained into me, where I was like, that's just our thing. But then when I went to start the podcast, of course, you're thinking of a name. And I was like, well, all I'd say is keep going. So keep going. And then over time, I think I've looked back and realized the times that I just dug deep and kept going and pushed through and tried to get that success or tried to solve that problem. And it's bigger than me, though. It wasn't like I came up with it, but I didn't come up with it on my own. Like, that was like ordained or something. That's from above. That's not me, because if it was, I don't think it would have stuck like that. I don't think Keep Going podcast would have came out and then I'd be 119 episodes in. Like, obviously, even though I'm not trying to not take credit for my hard work, It's just obviously bigger than me. There's more to it. So I believe keep going can mean, the hard times you push through. But I always tell people when I message them, keep going when they have like a success or like a closing or whatever it is. I'm not saying keep going, like scratch that,
Right.
keep going, like yesterday's dead. I'm not thinking that. I'm like, acknowledge it, be grateful, and keep going, but keep improving, keep doing the things you did to get you here,
Yeah.
and keep pushing forward. And I just mean it as a term of love, really. And so it's been a beautiful journey with that. And then as far as learning things, like I said, when I grew up, I was so focused. So like when I started playing basketball, it was the first community that ever accepted me in my life. So that's all I knew. I was like, no, I'm a basketball player because those are my guys, and that's where I get my love. And my mom's working 3 jobs, and she's never home, and my sister's older, and she's doing whatever, and I don't have anybody, so I've got my friends that play basketball, and I got some positive reinforcement from being good at it. And then when I would hear stories of my grandpa and Harvey, and them, even on that pod I did, there's some about basketball. That's all they did. Is all they did was play ball. Like one of my grandpa's brothers, Jerry, he was like having a very hard time when he was near the end, and my grandpa took me to see him. And was like, hey, when you see him, like don't be hurt if he doesn't know who you are and things like that. And I walk in, he said, Zach. And then we start talking about basketball. So it's been really important. My mom played college basketball. She played a long time. So it's kind of in me. And then when I got older and I met my wife, Rachel, we just started trying stuff. So she's like, I've been doing Muay Thai, but I need to learn jujitsu. Well, my friend Tez and them went to a really good gym, American Top Team. And I was like, well, let's try there. So then I go there. And since I am humble, but hardworking, and I really don't give a crap, like I'm going to always just, I don't care if you've been doing it 15 years, like I'm going to just try my best. It was received well. So then I started getting addicted to jujitsu, and I was like, man, this is fun. Like trying stuff is fun. Then I got into hiking, and then I got into this. The horses was because I didn't want to be a Comanche that didn't know how to ride a horse. That was big for me because if you know anything about Comanche heritage, it's all about when they finally got horses from like the Spanish, it changed the game. They went from like the low on the totem pole to the fiercest. So I was like, I don't want to disrespect my ancestors. That's why I have this chain on that's a horse,
Oh wow.
and it's double-sided.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to have that trait, or not have that trait. So my wife is really the leader in it. I need to do better about maybe pushing myself sometimes, but she's always like, hey, you said this, you need to go do it. So I started doing the horses, and I volunteered at some places here in Guthrie, and I started processing animals when we would hunt. I started carving spoons and things. And then on the moccasins, it was because I got some, we had killed a deer last year, and I got it tanned, which I want to learn how to tan it now. After doing it once of paying someone, now I want to know how to do it. But we got some really soft, supple, like deer leather. And so I called my cousin, who his wife makes a lot of traditional regalia. And they're like, for sure, you can come over here Sunday. So I went over there this past Sunday, and we measured my foot. We cut out the leather, and they're like, I really think you should beat them. They're like, you could just make them today and you'll have moccasins and you're done. But I think they'll mean more to you if you learn the traditional way of beating and you try it. And I've never sewn anything. Like my wife sews, I've never sewn anything. So I'm in my office right now, whenever I get free time at home, sitting there sewing this leather. So eventually I'll show them to you, but
Yeah.
it's like, I just want to try stuff. I know that I want to keep stacking memories, and like travel's been a big thing that pushed that. Once I started traveling and exploring the world, I just got more hungry for it. And whether that is moccasins or riding horses or being in Manchester and recording a pod with 3 people that grew up together and I'm the 4th just sitting there.
Yeah.
Like I like the feeling of just trying stuff and doing it. I don't know. It's been really empowering for me to just try.
Yeah. It's something that you can go like your whole life and life will fly by and you're like, I wish I had done that. I wish I had tried that. But even if you just do it 1 or 2 times, right? You or make something like shit. You've got the moccasins. You can make spoons. Like you're hunting and doing all the things. Like these are all life experiences. Like I said, you're stacking experiences,
which is so new. If you knew how I grew
Yeah.
up, I never hunted nothing.
Yeah.
I remember having a friend in junior high that they ate deer meat, and I was like, no way. But then we processed one deer. We took it to a processor one time, just like this deer leather I'm telling you about. And I'm like, I feel like I can do that. And then so you can just picture this random native guy in his garage butchering some deer.
Do you have like a list of things you want to try, or do things just pop up naturally and you're like, I'll try that?
I think they pop up naturally. Right now, my thing is I'm learning Spanish. So I'm 5 lessons in as far as like I have a tutor, but I've been practicing for 4 months on apps.
Okay.
But I just got an actual tutor. And so that's my new thing that I'm like trying in the background.
Yeah. As far as wanting to grow your business as well?
Yeah, in my life. So like business for sure, because I went to a property. It's a property that we actually it should be coming on the market soon. We already did the rehab. But I had to have my contractor, Alfredo, who's bilingual, and he had to do the appointment with me.
Yeah.
And I didn't like not being able to use my enthusiasm or my personality or my expertise.
Speaking through.
Like I know how to talk, and not being able to do that and just looking at Alfredo and saying, all right, ask him this. And then he asked them and then ask. So business wise, I want to do that because one, it'll make me feel more comfortable and it'll make them feel more comfortable. And it'll expand you to another market. But also for travel, whether it's Mexico, I'm learning Mexican Spanish, but hopefully it'll translate to when I'm in Spain or something like that. Yeah. So it's just something to add to it. That's the newest. Like right now, like for the 2 random things of Zack, it's moccasins and Spanish, which is so random. Yeah. But it just started in the last.
But they're usable. Like they're usable. Stuff that like you're gonna utilize, and it's not. It's gonna serve you a purpose down the line. What's it like trying to learn a language when you're in your 30s?
Hard, but I think I'm better than I think. I think when I'm by myself and I'm practicing the words, like my pronunciation is better. But sometimes when I'm with the tutor, I may be getting a little shy. So getting over that, I think it's just harder to absorb, honestly, especially because I'm a real estate agent. I'm a real estate investor. I'm a podcaster. So that's already 2 busy things. Like that's too much busyness already. And trying to learn Spanish in the mix of it is tough, but I want to be able to speak to my wife. She's Mexican, Costa Rican, and Apache, and she didn't want to teach me Spanish, but I think she would like if I learned it.
Yeah.
So
it's another connection.
Yeah. It's just what I do. My friends always laugh because they're like, what are you doing? They'll call me and they'll be like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm sitting in El Reno by these buffalo right now. I'll call you back. And they're like, what the heck? And like that hunting stuff, I just started doing that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And then my
hunt or rifle?
Both. Okay. I prefer the bow, but I've done the rifle as well. And I love the hunting aspect, but I really enjoy the processing aspect. My friend Sonny, who it's really cool when you meet friends at later in life and then you're instantly close because it's rare, but they seem to be more connected. And his kids hadn't hunted in like 10 years. They're 12 or not 12. They are 12 and they hadn't hunted in like 6 years or something. And he showed up at my house at Friday night, not this Friday, but a Friday night, 9 p.m. with 3 deer. We did the whole thing. And then he came back a couple days later once the meat had dry aged. And then we broke it down into packages. And like, he looked at me while we were breaking it down with his kids. And he said, man, everyone you come in contact with, you leave them better than you left them. I want you to know that. And I'm just like, it's just like that guy saying the young elder, like, I usually want to shy away from it, but now I'm like, all right, that's my skill. Like I'm a nice guy and I make them feel better.
That's
so it's
my
like
response too. It is like, it makes me uncomfortable, right? Like even listening to you say really nice things, and I really appreciate it. It means a lot, it's still like, it is definitely a skill to take compliments, right? In a way that doesn't, in a way that's like graceful, and in a way that, because there's definitely ways to take compliments that make you look like a complete hole.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, I know, thank you. Shut up.
It's what I do.
Take the compliment.
Yeah.
Say thank you. But it's like, It is, and the more I've done this, and you're realizing it as well, is that the more that we do this, and the more that we meet people and give people opportunity to tell their story, and even if there's no cameras and no microphones in front of people, you're still like your daily conversations with people you meet improve so much.
Yeah.
Because like the right questions to ask, you're listening, your listening improves. I'm sure the conversations with your wife have got much better too, because there's so much more connection there, because we're doing more reps than your average human being who isn't meeting, and especially with the job that we're in, meet people, different people all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
It helps.
Real estate and podcasting, it's already like a ton of exposure.
Right.
Like real estate is so many conversations. So the fact that we both podcast is interesting because it's like we're making ourselves do even more. Like if we were just podcasting, it wouldn't be as much compared to what we do. Like the conversations we have are frequent.
Yeah.
But it's been a journey, but like the trying stuff, I don't know. I think it's because like I was so selective growing up that now I'm like, yeah, I'll try that.
Yeah.
I may not love it, but I'll try it. Like the other thing is we've been rock climbing for a year now, indoor. We haven't done
So
outdoor yet.
hard.
It's hard, but now I'm addicted to it.
Yeah.
Now it's like, all right,
Because of the challenge.
let's climb up, and
Yeah.
it's interesting.
It's really hard. I've only done it once, and I was humbled real quick.
Oh yeah,
and
you
I
get
was
like
just
15
this is
minutes.
so hard. Yeah, and I was like, I'm aching everywhere. This is and I hate heights too.
But I had a huge fear in the past of heights as well, and I still do, but I try not to say it.
Right.
But it's helped.
Try not to give it a voice.
Yeah, I try not to give it a voice, but it's tough. The hardest thing for me is when you're like taking a break, when you're climbing up and you take a break and they have you just kind of hanging there. I don't like hanging there. But I know in business, I know in life, podcasting, whatever it is, it's when you're getting uncomfortable is like where the growth is, which is, everybody knows that, but it's hard to do it sometimes. So when I know that I'm going to go in there and be really scared, and I drive up there anyway, I think it builds some internal confidence, like just gives you a little bit more of a backbone of like, no, I'll try stuff. Like jujitsu was crazy. Like I didn't grow up fighting. I protected myself when needed, but I didn't like fighting because I grew up in a hectic household. So when people would start getting feisty, I didn't like it. I was like, I don't want any part of this. So then to go fight in a cage, it's crazy. But it was like, yeah, I'm like 8-9 months in, whatever.
Sure.
I'll go fight some guy in my underwear. Like it's crazy. But it's like, you just try it and you'll be surprised.
My problem, I think, and this is a guy problem, I think in general, is that I say yes to too many things versus being like, I want to go do this. Let me go try this and complete it and get good at it or whatever it is. And then I'll try something else versus saying, I have a list of 20 things I want to be good at. I'll try. I need to be more selective because I again, big list guy. Like I want to learn how to ride a motorcycle, for an example.
Well, that's the easy one.
Right? Well, there's that. And then there's the time, but it's the time it takes to like do the test and like
that's one day.
Well,
we can do that one day.
But okay. The other one is
don't give me that one.
Ride a horse. The other one.
Okay, yeah.
How to ride a horse, like be competent on a horse without like nervous and freaking out and like this thing might kill me kind of thing because that's how I feel.
No, I still feel it. Like I'm still super new. I had to learn how to be comfortable walking behind them and all.
Yeah, that right.
Because I didn't want to, and the lady training them was like, in a stable, you have to walk behind them. Yeah. They just have to know you're there. And I'm like, okay.
I'm gonna get kicked in the face.
Like this.
Right?
I did a blessing for her when I was leaving, and I blessed all her animals. And one of the horses leaned into that eagle feather and was rubbing his head on the eagle feather, which was wild. Like some horses were kind of with it, but one was just like smushed on it. And I was like, this is crazy.
This is a lot. Yeah.
But on the motorcycle thing, we can talk off the pod, but that's a 1-day course or 2-day course. Yeah. That's doable. And let me tell you, you like that Cobra, you'll love that motorcycle.
That's what like that. I had a.
You look like a hog type guy. Just like
on the Instagram for the car, and they were like, "It's the closest you would ever get on 4 wheels to riding a motorcycle."
Yeah, that's close.
So right, I was just.
You need one of those like those ones that are in the UK where it's like the old Triumphs.
Yeah, I like those. Like the.
You're kind of a bigger guy, so I don't know if that would fit you well, but.
Yeah,
we'll see. But yeah, I didn't know you wanted to do that. If you ever need help,
I do. Yeah, and that's like it's the other thing is like with the podcast, you get exposed to so many cool stories and people who do different things, right? And so I did a podcast with Kyle, who owns 66 Tactical.
Yeah, saw that one.
Right? And we went shooting after, and I'm like, oh, I would love to do this. badass just to get into like the whole tactical, and then there was a video that came on Instagram of that place in Vegas, the Taran Tactical place.
Oh yeah, like where you see Keanu Reeves.
Yeah,
and stuff.
yes. The John Wick testing, all the things. I'm like, that is cool, right? I just want to but it takes years and years of training to get to that.
Oh, I realized when I was with Lou, I was way out of my comfort zone.
He can shoot.
He's like, we'll try that. But what's crazy, and that's what's cool about us trying stuff, is within that day, they can progress you.
Yeah.
Like,
finding a good teacher.
you already found your addiction, though. You're a golfer till you die.
That's
so.
the problem is that like I'm the guy in me is like, ooh, new shiny thing, like new shiny, whatever it is. But yeah, and dude, we could sit here forever. We're gonna do many podcasts together. You're welcome on the show anytime to do whatever it is. But I'm glad we finally got to do this. 119 episodes in. It's amazing. It's fun to see the guests that you have and the passion that you have for just like having conversation, because that's all it really is sitting down having conversations, and meeting new people and being open to learning new things is a skill that I wish everybody had.
Yeah, and I know we've been talking about compliments, but you've definitely been a very helpful piece in it. And like just the connection with the UK, like how much I love it now, even though I know it's positives and negatives. But
Yeah, chicken bakes for life.
yeah, being able to like connect with you on that and how beautiful that culture is over there, it's been nice to know you, not only for the podcasting, but just like that side of the world as well. Because being over there, like I think I've done 4 podcasts in the UK. I did one in Portugal this year or last year, and it's been a cool journey. The travel is probably the thing I'm most addicted to, and it's cool to know people like you. And I've got a Welsh guy in my backyard, but like it's beautiful, man.
Yeah. Keep going podcasts on all platforms.
Yep.
And then what's your Instagram?
ZD Sales OKC.
Okay.
So ZD Sales OKC, and I post all my podcast things on those as well. We've been averaging about two a week, but it varies. Sometimes I do 1, sometimes I do 2. But I've got some cool guests coming up. I've got some family members that do cool stuff, so that'll be fun. And yeah, I'd love to do it again. I'd love to have you on. Keep going. I appreciate that you support me as much as you do. I love that when I post about it, you're always there. I love that you've connected me to guests, but more than anything, it's just been nice to have the conversations and the camaraderie.
Yeah, appreciate your time.
Yeah, yes, sir.
People listening, I'll put the links to Zack's Instagram and podcast down below. And try something new this year, right?
Right.
Actually try something new. That's all we're going to leave you with today.
Even if it's super random.
Yeah. Like
just do it.
Yeah. Whether it's making something with your hands or going and, learning to play an instrument. The cliche ones are a language and an instrument. I think those are the things. But yeah, try something new, and people listening will catch the next episode. Cheers. Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at OklahomaHOF. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my 2 pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my 2 golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too, but I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedoghouseokc.com and follow them on Instagram at thedoghouseokc, and hopefully our pups will run into each other.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.